My name is Lina, and for years I was the family's go-to babysitter, the reliable sister who never said no. Every plan I made, every weekend I wanted for myself, always came second to my brother's needs. But last Christmas, when he announced I'd watch his kids for a week while he vacationed in the Caribbean, something inside me snapped. That night, I decided to end the cycle of being taken for granted, and what followed tore our family apart before it brought us closer than ever. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments and hit subscribe for more powerful revenge stories. My older brother Caleb has treated me like his private, unpaid childcare plan. This Christmas was supposed to be the year that ended. I promised myself I would finally draw a line he couldn't casually step over. So when he slid a leather planner onto our parents' dining table and said, "You'll keep the kids for a week while we cruise the Caribbean," something in me, quiet and stubborn, clicked into place. Before I go on, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And if you've ever had family treat your time like it's automatically theirs, hit subscribe. This channel is for you. Caleb is 3 years older, and in our family lore, he's always been the golden one. Star athlete, flawless report cards, now a polished executive with the curated family photos to match. I took a different path. I'm a freelance brand designer who works mostly from home for clients scattered across the country. I love the work, the inventiveness, the freedom to build my day. But in my family's eyes, flexibility has always translated into availability. When we were kids, it started with covering for him when he snuck out or guarding his stuff while he handled something. As adults, it morphed into me babysitting his children like it was a standing appointment. Ava, 7, quick-eyed and brimming with questions. Noah, 5, a whirlwind with a dinosaur under one arm and Legos in the other. And tiny Sophie, 2, who melts against my sweater during story time and traces the drawings with her soft little fingers. I adore them. I resent being treated like a service. "Lina, can you watch the kids this afternoon? Monica's got a hair appointment and I've got a meeting," Caleb would say, already halfway out the door. Or, "Emergency at work, dropping them in 20. Thanks." These weren't requests. They were announcements. My parents, Elaine and Victor, smoothed the way for years. "Your brother has a lot on his plate," Mom would say. "It's just a few hours," Dad would add. "Family helps family." As if my hours, my calls, my deadlines weighed less. The breaking point came last summer. Caleb and his wife, Monica, informed me, 3 days beforehand, that they were taking an anniversary weekend. They assumed I'd keep the kids from Friday through Sunday. I canceled a date, pushed a big client presentation, and when they came home, they tossed me a fridge magnet from their hotel. The kids were good, right? Knew you could handle it. No thank you, just expectation fulfilled. After that, I found a therapist, Dr. Nadia Brooks, who listened as I unwound the threadbare logic that had knotted my life. "You're describing a boundary problem," she said gently during one session. "They've been taught, by repetition, that your time is less important, and you've been taught to keep the peace at your own expense." Week after week, we practiced saying no without a novel of apologies attached, role-played phone calls, drafted letters I'd never send, and mapped out what I actually needed. "Boundaries aren't punishments," Dr. Brooks reminded me. "They're instructions for how to treat you with respect." By December, I felt steadier, more in my body, more able to tolerate the discomfort of not pleasing everyone. I promised myself that next time Caleb tried to conscript me, I'd hold the line. I didn't know I'd be tested in front of everyone I love, with a Caribbean itinerary as the weapon of choice. Christmas at my parents' place is always a production. Mom spends days coaxing shine from the silver and perfume from the kitchen. Honey-glazed ham, scalloped potatoes with indecent amounts of cheese, green beans crowned with crispy onions because Dad loves them, and her apple pie with vanilla ice cream that tastes like the kind of childhood you actually want to remember. When I arrived, arms stacked with wrapped gifts, the house smelled like cinnamon and pine. The tree glittered with decades of ornaments, everyone with a story. Caleb and Monica were already there. Ava and Noah were arguing amicably over a board game with Grandpa, while Monica whisked something in the kitchen. Sophie toddled in a red velvet dress, curls bouncing. Caleb lounged in Dad's recliner, scrolling, barely glancing up. "Aunt Lina!" Ava barreled into me, Noah on her heels, Sophie wobbling behind. I laughed, balancing presents while being mobbed. Gifts under the tree monsters, be patient or Santa revokes privileges. Dinner was the usual choreography. Dad carving with surgical focus, Mom fussing over textures, Caleb narrating his promotion arc while Monica sprinkled updates about the kids. I let the warmth of it all soak in, even while that old draft of imbalance slid under the door. We were on dessert when Caleb cleared his throat and produced the planner, of course. Monica and I have exciting news, he said, flipping it open like a magician revealing a dove. We booked a 7-day Caribbean cruise, Royal Caribbean, Harmony of the Seas. We leave January 8th. Mom clapped. Dad raised his glass. Monica squeezed Caleb's forearm, eyes shining. They painted the week in glossy strokes. Spa packages, white sand excursions, late dinners with ocean swells humming against the hull. Then Caleb rotated the planner so the highlighted block of dates faced me. So Lina, you'll have the kids that week. We'll drop them on the 7th. Gotta be at the port early. Not a question. An instruction. The table went silent, a soft thunder as everyone's attention slid toward me. Mom's hopeful smile, Dad's practiced expectation, Monica already running a mental packing list. The kids, happily oblivious, spooned melting ice cream. In my head, Dr. Brooks's voice steadied my spine. Your needs matter too. I can't do that, Caleb, I said, keeping my tone even. I have plans in January. His fork clattered. What plans? You work from home. You can watch them while you work. I have client meetings scheduled, and a life set weeks ago, I answered. You should have asked before you booked. We already paid, Monica cut in, a thin edge in her voice. It's non-refundable, Lina. Mom went into mediator mode. Surely you can reshuffle a bit, honey. It's only a week and they've been looking forward to this. The kids love staying with you, Dad added, like that settled anything. The old reflex, give in, keep the peace, rose like a wave. I felt it crest and pass. I'm sorry, but I can't this time, I said firmer. You'll need to find another solution. Caleb's face cooled a few degrees. We'll talk tomorrow when you've had time to think. I'm sure you'll see reason. Conversation lurched into safer lanes, but the tension hummed like a live wire. I drove home with my hands tight on the wheel, heart pounding with a cocktail of guilt and relief. I had finally said no in front of witnesses. I knew the fallout was coming. I also knew I wasn't going to fold. My phone buzzed with messages before I'd even taken off my coat. Mom urging me to reconsider. Dad invoking family. Monica invoking money. The guilt barbs still pricked, but they didn't penetrate like before. Near midnight, I called my best friend, Maya. She answered with a rustle of blankets and the soundtrack of a Christmas rom-com in the background. He did what? She said, after I unloaded everything. On Christmas? Without asking? Classic Caleb. He plans his life and expects the rest of us to orbit it, I sighed. And you always orbit, she said, not unkindly. That's why he keeps trying to set your gravity. Not this time. I'm proud, but he won't let it go. What's your plan? At that point, I had resolve but no logistics. So Maya and I practiced. She played Caleb and weaponized every angle I feared. We already paid. The kids will be heartbroken. What have you got that's more important than family? Mom's back hurts. I rehearsed holding the line. Clear, calm, no essays, no apologies. By the time we hung up, I felt like I'd trained a muscle that had been asleep for years. The next morning, I put action where my mouth was. I booked a cabin at Pinecrest Ridge Retreat, a quiet mountain getaway 3 hours away, for January 7th, 14th. Non-refundable, so there'd be no backsliding. I stacked my calendar that week with client calls and outreach I'd been postponing. I drafted a note to tape to my door on the 7th, just in case Caleb tried the blitz drop-off. Caleb and Monica, I'm unavailable for childcare during your cruise. As I said at Christmas, I have prior commitments. Please respect my decision and arrange other care. Hope you enjoy your trip. Lina. I slid it into a plastic sleeve for weather and set it by the door like armor. By afternoon, Caleb called. I answered with my practiced breath steady in my chest. Have you come to your senses? He said by way of hello. My answer's still no, I replied. I have commitments I won't break. What commitments? You never do anything important. The casual dismissal stung, but I didn't chase it. My time is important to me, whether or not you think it is. I have work meetings and personal plans set weeks ago. Reschedule. No. Mom can't watch them all week. She's got book club and her volunteering. That isn't my problem to solve, I said. You are their parents. This is selfish, Lina. After everything we've done for you. What exactly is everything, Caleb? The question landed like a quiet thud. He sputtered, regrouped with a line about family duty. I let him finish, then said, family asks, family doesn't command, and family accepts no as an answer. I'm not available. Period. I have to go. I ended the call before he could reset the board. The barrage began. Monica's texts, my parents' calls. I muted my phone, booked a quick check-in with Dr. Brooks, and told her what I'd done. You should be proud, she said. This is what growth looks like. Clear choices, tolerating discomfort, staying aligned with your values. What if I'm being selfish? I asked, the old shame flickering. Is it selfish to expect respect? She countered. Or is it selfish to assume your sister's life is infinitely pliable around yours? I spent New Year's keeping my routine steady, journaling, meditating, working through my client list, letting the worry pass through me without camping in my chest. I asked a neighbor to grab my mail while I was gone. I packed a suitcase and a thermos, lowered my thermostat, and double-checked the cabin directions. On January 7th, a needle-fine snow began to fall. I taped my note to the front door at 9:30, then waited. Caleb's text arrived the night before. Dropping kids at 11 tomorrow. Make sure you've got groceries. Not a question. A directive wrapped in logistics. At 10:45, early of course, their silver SUV eased to the curb across from my building. I watched through the window's edge as Caleb popped the trunk and Monica unbuckled the kids. Ava hopped down with her purple backpack already on. Noah tumbled out clutching his stuffed T-Rex. Monica lifted Sophie to her hip, the toddler's red bow skewed. Caleb hefted 2 suitcases like he was hauling proof of inevitability. The kids raced up my path, Ava's mittened hand rising to knock, then pausing as she noticed the page in its plastic sleeve. She called for her parents. Caleb read the note once, then again, like maybe the words would reassemble into what he wanted. His shoulders went rigid. He stabbed at his phone. It rang in my hand. I let it buzz again, then again. On the 5th call, I answered. Open the door, he snapped. We're standing here with the kids and luggage. This is ridiculous. The note explains it, I said, calm and even. I told you I'm unavailable. You can't just decide that last minute. I told you almost 2 weeks ago in front of the entire family and again on the phone. You chose not to hear me. Where are you? Are you even home? I'm about to leave for my own vacation, I said. One I planned and paid for, like you planned and paid for yours. Monica's voice slid in from the background, practiced sweetness curdled by irritation. Lina, please, we've been looking forward to this for months. The ship leaves tomorrow. What are we supposed to do? Whatever you would if I didn't exist, I said softly. Hire help, ask friends, take them with you. There are options that don't involve assuming my time belongs to you. I can't believe you're doing this to us, she said, the sweetness gone. I'm not doing anything to you, I replied. I'm simply not available. I ended the call and blocked both numbers for the drive. My hands shook for a second, and then they didn't. I left my phone face down on the counter, its silence a small mercy, and loaded my car. Snow thickened as I pulled away, the tires hissing against the cold asphalt. In my rearview mirror, I caught one last glimpse of Caleb standing in my driveway, gesturing angrily at his phone while Monica juggled Sophie. Ava and Noah huddled in the back seat, their little faces pressed to the window. A pang hit my chest, guilt mixed with grief, but I gripped the steering wheel tighter. They weren't my responsibility this time. Caleb and Monica had created this crisis by refusing to listen. The highway out of town wound into the foothills, and with each passing mile, the noise of family faded behind me. The radio hummed low. The world softened to white and pine. When I finally reached the cabin at Pinecrest Ridge, it looked like something off a postcard. Timber walls dusted in snow, smoke trailing gently from a chimney, a porch light glowing warm against the fading afternoon. Inside, the air smelled of cedar and fresh linen. A stone fireplace dominated the room, and a wide window framed the frozen pond outside. For the first time in years, I felt the stillness of being utterly, blessedly alone. I spent the evening unpacking, making tea, and lighting a fire. The flames crackled softly, filling the room with warmth and a kind of quiet that felt like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. I read until my eyelids drooped, letting the storm outside lull me into sleep. The next morning, I turned my phone on, bracing myself. 73 unread messages, 32 missed calls. I scrolled through them quickly, recognizing the pattern. Fury, guilt, panic, and finally, resignation. Mom had texted, "We had to cancel everything to watch the kids. I hope you're satisfied." Caleb's messages were an escalating sequence of disbelief. "You can't do this. Answer me. We're stuck. You've really lost it this time." I stared at the screen for a long moment, then put the phone face down again. Their emergency wasn't mine. Outside, the snow had stopped. The forest around the cabin was hushed, every branch bent under white weight. I pulled on boots and wandered down the trail that looped through the woods. The cold bit my cheeks, but each breath felt cleaner, freer. For once, no one expected anything of me. No just this once, no guilt-coated favors. Just me and the crunch of snow beneath my steps. By the second day, the silence felt less foreign. I spent mornings sketching, afternoons hiking short trails, evenings wrapped in a blanket by the fire watching the flames shift from orange to blue. The constant ache of obligation that had lived somewhere under my ribs began to fade. When curiosity finally won, I checked my phone again. The storm of messages had slowed to a drizzle. There was one final text from Mom. "The kids are fine. We're fine. But this whole thing has been very hard on your brother. I hope you're proud of yourself." I sighed. I wasn't proud. I was sad. Sad it had taken a confrontation for them to notice I was a person with limits. But beneath that sadness sat something sturdier. Peace. I typed one message back. "I love you all. I'm not angry. I just needed to take care of myself for once. I'll call when I'm back." Then I turned the phone off again. The next few days passed in a rhythm that felt like recovery. I worked remotely in the mornings, the Wi-Fi surprisingly steady, and explored nearby towns in the afternoons. I found a tiny cafe that served pie so good it nearly made me cry, a thrift shop full of antique postcards, and a bookstore run by an old couple who argued affectionately over every recommendation. It was ordinary, but it was mine. On the 5th day, my phone buzzed with a message from Dad. "Family meeting, Sunday, 2 p.m. at the house. No greeting, no explanation, just an order as usual." I considered ignoring it, maybe staying an extra day at the cabin. But running would only delay what needed to happen. For the first time, I had leverage, not manipulation, but truth. They couldn't guilt me into silence anymore. Sunday came gray and cold. I drove down from the mountains, the roads wet with thawing snow, my stomach tight with anticipation. By the time I reached my parents' house, every car was already there. The dining room lights glowed through the curtains. Inside, the scene was almost comically formal. Everyone seated like a courtroom panel. Mom and Dad at each end of the table, Caleb and Monica side by side, 3 empty chairs opposite them. I took the middle one. "The kids are with Monica's mom," Mom said quickly, as if to preempt criticism. I nodded. "Good." Silence hung heavy until Dad cleared his throat. "We're here because your brother and Monica had to cut their vacation short, because you refused to help." Caleb leaned forward, eyes sharp. "You left us stranded, Lina. No warning, no nothing." "I gave you 2 weeks," I said evenly. "I told you at Christmas and again on the phone." "We'd already paid," Monica snapped. "You knew how important this trip was." "And I said no," I replied. "You decided not to believe me." Dad raised his hand like a referee. "Lina, this was irresponsible. Family helps family. You know that." "You raised me to be the helper," I said quietly. "You raised Caleb to be the one helped. There's a difference." "That's not fair," Mom protested. "It's true," I said. "Every time there's a need, I'm expected to rearrange my life. Because I'm single, because I work from home, because you assume I'll say yes." Caleb's jaw tightened. "So this was revenge?" "This was me setting a boundary," I said, voice calm but firm. "You don't get to dictate my time. You never even asked, you told. I won't live like that anymore." Monica slammed her hand lightly on the table. "We lost $3,000 because of you." "No," I corrected. "You lost it because you ignored me. You gambled that I'd fold like always." Caleb scoffed. "You've always watched the kids. We had every reason to think you would again." Except I said I wouldn't. Mom sighed, rubbing her temples. "We thought you'd come around." That's the problem, I said softly. You don't believe me when I say no. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Caleb muttered, Do you have any idea what that week was like? We argued every night. Monica cried. We couldn't relax. It ruined everything. I'm sorry your trip was ruined, I said, meaning it. But that was the consequence of ignoring me, not my punishment for you. Mom's eyes glistened. We just wanted to spend time together, all of us. You've always been the responsible one. I was the compliant one, I corrected. Not the responsible one. There's a difference. Something shifted in the air then, small but real. For the first time, Mom didn't argue back. I never realized how much we've leaned on you, she said finally. You've always made it easy. That's changing, I said gently. It's not healthy, for me or for you. Dad exhaled. So where do we go from here? I still love you all, I said. I still want to be part of this family. But from now on, you ask, not assume. And if I say no, it means no. No one clapped, no one hugged, but something settled. A crack in the old foundation, a sliver of light. As I drove home that night, exhaustion hit me like a wave, but under it was calm. The kind of calm that comes after telling the truth aloud for the first time. The weeks after that confrontation were eerily quiet. No group texts, no casual drop-ins, no photos of the kids clogging my phone. Just silence, a heavy humming kind that felt both punishing and peaceful. I'd expected yelling, maybe a dramatic apology or two, but instead my family retreated into a cold distance. It was their way of saying, you broke the system. For the first few days, doubt slithered in. I replayed the conversation in my head, second-guessing every word. Maybe I had gone too far, maybe I was selfish, maybe I'd shattered something that couldn't be fixed. But then I'd remember Dr. Brooks's steady voice. Silence is part of recalibration. They're adjusting to a world where you have boundaries. Still, the quiet hurt. The first crack came from an unexpected place, an email from my cousin Leah. Good for you, she wrote. Caleb's been pulling that family helps family routine on everyone for years. Someone had to stop it. For the first time, I realized that standing up for myself wasn't just about me. It was a mirror for others stuck in the same pattern. Then came February, Ava's 9th birthday. I mailed her a big box filled with art supplies and a handwritten note. Keep drawing everything you see, kiddo. The world needs your colors. A week later, Mom sent a group photo of the party. Ava grinned in front of her cake, holding my gift high. No mention of me, but her smile was enough. March drifted in on cold rain. I ran into Monica at the grocery store one Tuesday afternoon. At first, she pretended not to see me, her cart turning abruptly down the fruit aisle. But fate, in its twisted humor, steered us right into each other near the strawberries. Oh, hi, she said, forcing a smile. Hi, I replied. How are the kids? They're good. She busied herself comparing prices, clearly uncomfortable. They miss you. I miss them too, I said. Tell them I said hello. She nodded, biting her lip, then murmured, Maybe you could stop by sometime. It wasn't exactly a peace treaty, but it wasn't a wall either. Progress sometimes comes disguised as awkward small talk over fruit. By April, Mom texted an invitation for Easter dinner. Formal, almost businesslike. Easter Sunday, 1 p.m. Let me know if you can make it. No smiley faces, no expectations. Just a cautious olive branch. I said yes. Easter morning glowed bright and cold. When I arrived, I half expected the same tribunal from January, but the atmosphere was different, still tentative, but softer. Dad greeted me with a restrained smile. Mom fussed over the ham. Caleb and Monica were civil, polite, distant. Then Ava spotted me and broke the spell. Aunt Lina, she squealed, launching herself into my arms with Noah close behind. Sophie toddled over, chanting, Lina, Lina! I hugged them all, the sound of their laughter washing away months of tension. The meal was cautious, conversation sticking to safe topics. Weather, school, movies. No one mentioned cruises or boundaries. But the silence this time wasn't hostile. It was healing. A ceasefire in slow motion. After dessert, as I helped clear the table, Caleb appeared beside me. Can we talk? He asked, his tone stiff but not cold. We stepped out to the porch where the air smelled of damp earth and tulips. He leaned against the railing, arms crossed, eyes on the garden. "Monica and I have been seeing a counselor," he said abruptly. I blinked. "Oh?" "After the cruise disaster," he said, voice low. "We couldn't stop fighting. The counselor said we both offload our stress onto other people, especially you." I stayed silent, letting him fill the space. "She asked me when the last time was that I asked you for help instead of telling you. I couldn't remember." He gave a short laugh, half bitter, half embarrassed. "Guess that says everything." "I'm not asking for an apology," I said softly. "Well, you're getting one anyway," he muttered, finally looking at me. "I handled it badly. We both did. I just didn't think about how much we assumed you'd bend." "Thank you," I said. And for once, it wasn't an automatic peacekeeping line. It was real gratitude. He shifted awkwardly. "The kids really miss you. Maybe you could come for dinner next Friday. If you're not busy, I mean." There it was. A genuine request, not an order. The first of its kind. "I'd like that," I said. The following weeks stitched themselves quietly back together. Friday dinners became a small ritual. Monica learned to text ahead, always including "if you're free" at the end. Mom began asking instead of assuming when she needed help prepping for holidays. Dad even apologized, his version of it at least. One afternoon, as we washed dishes side by side, he said, "You were right, you know. We leaned on you too hard." That single sentence from a man of few words meant more than a dozen apologies. By summer, my relationship with the kids was back in full bloom. I cheered at Ava's soccer games, helped Noah build Lego towers taller than himself, and clapped wildly at Sophie's first dance recital. It wasn't the same dynamic as before. It was healthier. I wasn't their default caretaker anymore. I was their aunt again. The biggest surprise came in late June when Monica's mom, Carol, called me out of the blue. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said, her voice warm and amused. "Since you stood your ground, they've learned to ask me properly, too. No last-minute dumps. I should have sent you flowers months ago." We laughed, and for the first time, I realized the ripple effect of one act of self-respect. Boundaries, it turns out, don't just protect you. They teach everyone around you what's possible. Months passed. Leaves turned gold, then fell. By December, the air carried that same cinnamon and pine scent as the Christmas that started it all. But everything felt different now. When Caleb called to invite me for lunch, I expected another favor lurking under the surface. Instead, he said, "I just wanted to catch up." At the cafe, he fiddled with his phone before sliding it across the table, showing me cruise photos. "We're doing another one, February, just 3 nights this time. We already asked Monica's parents to watch the kids." "That sounds nice," I said, smiling. "It will be." He nodded, then paused. "Lina, you were right last year, about everything. I treated your time like it was mine. I didn't even realize how entitled I was until you stopped letting me be." The admission was quiet but seismic. "I appreciate you saying that," I said. He smiled sheepishly. "Guess your therapist would be proud." "She'd probably make us role-play this conversation," I joked, and we both laughed. For the first time in forever, we talked like siblings, not supervisor and subordinate. Later that month, Mom called one evening. "Your father and I were talking about last Christmas," she began, her voice gentle. "We owe you an apology. We expected you to give endlessly and called it love. You taught us that love also means respect." Her words broke something open in me, an ache I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. "Thank you, Mom," I whispered. "I even quit 2 of my volunteer committees," she added proudly. "Turns out my time is valuable too." When Christmas arrived again, our family gathered in the same living room, under the same twinkling lights. But this time, no one expected me to serve or sacrifice. Ava handed me a handmade card with a drawing of us painting together. Noah built a Lego version of my home office. Sophie climbed into my lap, eyelids heavy after dessert. Then Caleb handed me an envelope. "This is from Monica and me," he said. Inside was a gift certificate for a weekend retreat at Pinecrest Ridge, the same mountain cabin where I'd reclaimed my peace. "We thought you deserved some rest," Monica said, smiling. "No strings attached." I looked at them both, the kids leaning sleepily against their parents, the lights of the tree reflecting in their eyes. Something inside me settled. That night, as I drove home through quiet, snow-lit streets, I thought about how a single word, no, had changed everything.